Good evening. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Would everyone please stand and join us for the flag salute? Salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Monica, there's a little feedback here. Is the volume up? There's a little feedback.
Let me check.
Okay. All right. We'll start out with our closed session report. Was conference with labor negotiating, no labor negotiators, information was exchanged, no action was taken. Move on to item 3, public comments for items not on this agenda. If you have any comments for items not on the agenda, please come up to the podium. Thank you.
Bear with me today, please. I'm going to try to get through this without crying. But dear members of the school board, I have 2 children in the Carpinteria Unified School District. I have a 3rd grade daughter in DLI program at Canalino, and I have a 6th grade son at Carpinteria Middle School. I'm here tonight to follow up on concerns I raised during a recent IEP meeting with my son. Concerns rooted not only in what my son is currently experiencing in general education classrooms, but also in what I observed at the last board meeting as this ongoing debate around inclusion and student support continues. I want to be very clear. From what I observed in the last board meeting, there still appears to be resistance from some educators at CMS to inclusive practices and the push-in model for students with IEPs and 504 plans. The resistance is not just concerning, it's unacceptable. Before anything else, I want to address something I also heard at the last board meeting. Referring to students as SPED kids is not appropriate. It's dismissive, outdated, and reduces children to a label instead of recognizing them as individuals. Language matters. It shapes how students are seen, how they are treated, and what is expected of them. We should be modeling respect at every level of the system. And if we're going to talk about data, as we did in the last meeting, then we must commit to using complete and accurate data, not selective numbers that support a narrative while ignoring the full picture. Because the full picture matters when we're talking about children. Inclusion is not optional, it is the law. Under IDEA Section 504, the California Education Code, students are entitled to a free, appropriate public education in the least restrictive environment. These protections are not new and they're not optional. The expectation is clear. Students should be educated alongside their peers to the maximum extent appropriate, with supports provided, not withheld. This is not about philosophy or preference. It is about whether we are meeting our legal and ethical obligations to children. For my family, this is not theoretical. It's personal. My son Julian has been a part of the inclusive programs in this district since he was 3 years old. Inclusion is not new to him. It is the foundation of how he has learned, grown, and succeeded. Julian has worked incredibly hard. He is kind, hardworking, and a joyful presence in the spaces he is in. At his core, he is simply a kid who wants to do well and make the people around him proud. And importantly, he is not a narrative often used to argue against inclusion. He is not part of the problem being referenced when concerns are raised about this model. In fact, he is the opposite. He is academically and socially successful in an inclusion environment, getting all A's and B's. I think he ended up with 1 C+ last quarter because he got sick right before and some assignments didn't get turned in. His success is not accidental. It is the result of what happens when inclusion is implemented correctly with support, collaboration, and consistency between the parents, the teachers, and the support teams. He is, in many ways, an example of what inclusion is supposed to look like when it works. And that effort deserves to be met with support, not resistance. Because when inclusion is done right, students do not fall behind, they grow. And inclusive classrooms do not only benefit students with IEPs, they benefit all students. They build empathy, reflect the real world, and ensure students who already face challenges are not pushed farther into the margins. What concerns me most is that this resistance is not about awareness. Inclusive practices are not new. They are not part of how educators are trained today. So when there's still pushback, especially from leadership voices, it creates inconsistency, confusion, and inequity across classrooms. And it sends a message that some students' rights are still up for debate. They are not. If inclusion is in the standard, and it is, then we need clear direction that is non-negotiable. Support for teachers through meaningful collaboration with special education teams, leadership that reinforces expectations.
Can you wrap it up?
Yeah, and accountability when those expectations are not met. Because right now, there is a gap between what is promised and what is happening in practice, and students fill that gap.
Thank you. What was your name?
Cassie Pena.
Thank you, Cassie.
Alrighty, thank you. Union leadership provides a review of the special education program that should have been but wasn't provided during last month's SPED presentation. Even though the hasty implementation of the push-in model is the largest change in many years to the way CUSD assigns and supports special education students, it was not even mentioned in the presentation. And this after teachers and union representatives repeatedly shared in February and March and throughout April how significantly the push-in model continues to undermine and challenge student achievement at Carpinteria Middle School. The state requires that 70% or more of students with IEPs must spend 80% or more of their day in general education settings. In other words, the 70% of students who are pushed in may spend 20% of their class time in SAI and other support classes, an opportunity that is not being utilized. Although CUSD could have easily produced that data, there were no figures on how well CUSD either met, failed to meet, or exceeded the state's expectation. However, of the excessive number of CMS SPED students pushed into general ed classes, they received no additional support in at least half of those classes. And compared to just last year, special education students received just 20% of the SPED support they used to receive, now just 15 minutes 3 times a week. We know Ds and Fs continue to skyrocket even after Ms. Pursoon discouraged, disciplined, and even publicly shamed teachers brave enough to assign accurate grades. CAS scores have also confirmed declining achievement for our SPED students at the middle school. CUSD saved lots of money lowering the SPED student population by 14%. It slowed the process for qualifying new SPED students. It reduced the total number of initial assessments by 31% this year. And it changed eligibility requirements, which removed and denied services for several other students. Overall, SPED staffing was also reduced by approximately 15%, another enormous savings for the district. But while CUSD saves money over prescribing the push-in model, our most struggling students are forced to sit in general ed classrooms, often without aids, often confused, disengaged, and presenting increased behavioral challenges, too often resulting from their lack of academic success and engagement. Lastly, there was no data pertaining to the extraordinary legal costs associated with the variety of SPED-related lawsuits filed under Ms. Rigby and Ms. Haynes' watch. In just February and March, there was over $100,000 in special education legal costs, in addition to the Superior Court Judge Anderley's order, case number 25, Charlie Victor 04752, requiring CUSD to pay $125,000 to settle away Ms. Pursoon and Ms. Rigby's unlawful efforts to remove 3 special education students entitled to service under the Individuals with Disabilities Act. Also absent in the presentation were admin's plans to fix the push-in model by adding a pull-out component, a resolution that is high on optics and low on outcomes. Although it allows admin to allege the hastily implemented push-in model was the right move this year, the addition of a pull-out component is predicted to further undermine special education student achievement in 26-27, and we encourage you to talk with the very teachers that you have yet to reach back to, who have come months in a row to share this information with you, who you continue to dismiss. Thank you. Mr. Delgado will provide a Spanish translation.
Aunque la instrucción dentro del aula, el nuevo modelo, es un cambio enorme del distrito escolar en cuanto a la educación especial, ni siquiera lo mencionó la directora de Educación Haynes en su presentación. La directora de Educación no presentó ninguna estadística de cómo el distrito falló ni cómo excedió el tiempo requerido del Estado en el modelo nuevo de instrucción dentro del aula. De los estudiantes con discapacidades, ellos solamente reciben ahora 15 minutos de apoyo 3 veces a la semana. 3 veces a la semana, 15 minutos. Ahora sabemos que las Ds y las Fs aumentan y los exámenes CAA, SP siguen cayendo. El distrito ahorra dinero, pero los estudiantes más vulnerables están en clases generales confusos, con retos de disciplina que les impide el progreso académico. Tampoco en la presentación de la directora de Educación Haynes hubo mención de los costos legales de demandas de educación especial archivadas bajo la superintendente Rigby y la directora de Educación Haynes. Fueron más de $100,000 los costos y fueron $125,000 los costos adicionales bajo la directora Persoon y la superintendente Rigby, mientras que el distrito escolar reduce el número de estudiantes con discapacidades. Summerland está aumentando, sus estudiantes aumentaron 3, los estudiantes de educación especial. ¿Por qué? Porque son más afluyentes, porque ellos sí reclaman a los derechos de los estudiantes. Now, I would like to continue with my public comment on matters not on the agenda. Point number 1, the dual language immersion program was established during 2017-2018 school year. 9 years later, English learners are put on regular classes. Before 2017, all the way to the 70s, CUSD had ESL. And students were put on regular classes from the very first day. Myself, 2 sisters or daughters, nephews, nieces, they all have university degrees. We all learn English as a second language at school, with neighbors, with kids. And that's the case of thousands of students. No dual language was needed back then. Nowadays, the intent was good. But after so many millions of dollars spent, has it helped students in general? Former student Superintendent Cordero last year on the Coastal View said that dual language was a failure. Only 25% success. Now, CUSD is placing English learners on regular classes. Is it to save money? In that case, eliminate dual language and put that money on your reserves. Let me read the middle school school grades once again, Ds and Fs. First semester, 6th grade, Ds and Fs increased from 15 to 26%. 7th grade, Ds and Fs increased from 15% to 21%. 8th grade, Ds and Fs increased from 21% to 24%. Now, point number 2. Legal fees and lawsuits. Since 2016, millions of dollars have been spent on legal fees by CUSD. District attorneys have settled cases, lost cases, but they're yet to win a single case. Why is that? Santa Barbara Superior Court Judge Donna Jeck put it this way: CUSD has bad lawyers, incompetent. Imagine CUSD without that dual language expenses, without huge legal expenses. Probably 60% reserves every year. The projections for 2027, 13.7 reserves. Projections for all the way up to 2029, 28% reserves. But I think that's an illusion. Put in the background of years past. CUSD will trip itself with lawsuits. Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to the approval of the minutes of our last meeting of April 14th. Can I get a motion there?
Move to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Public comment.
Any public comment on the approval of the minutes?
Thank you. Let the minutes of the April 14th meeting show between hour 1:02 and hour 1:32, the teachers once again attempted to assist our school board officials to better understand the second straight year of declining student achievement under Ms. Pursoon. Compelled by a grossly misleading presentation and statements by Principal Pursoon, Ms. Rigby, and SPED Director
Monica, can you
Haynes,
stop his time for just
several
a sec?
CMS
Mr.
teachers
Hochner,
set
can you
the
stop for
record
just a
straight.
sec?
As long as
I'm
I
resetting
have-
your time.
Yep,
So,
let's make sure.
So, you're commenting on the minutes as they're presented, not on what you would like the minutes to show?
Yes, we're commenting on the record of the
No,
meeting.
you're
Yes, we are.
commenting on the minutes as presented.
Yes,
And you're not.
yes,
right
I
now.
am, actually.
No, you're
Yes, I
not.
am. Thank you.
You're not. So
Okay, thank
please
you.
keep it to the minutes as
Yes,
presented.
that's what I'm doing. Thank you. To the minutes of the meeting. Thank you. Yes. Can you tell me where we're at on time, please? Or shall we restart just to make sure that I have the full allotment of time?
2 minutes and 34 seconds. Keep going now.
Okay, thank you. In hopes of helping board members and families better understand how they might serve district students and families, let the minutes show that the chaotic aftermath of impulsive administrative decisions of late August, CMS teachers were left with a hastily implemented push-in model and a pitifully resourced SPED program, resulting in a detrimental impact on CMS students' achievement. Let the minutes show that when left with the choice to confront administrative ineptitude or help struggling students, the board once again chose to provide cover for Ms. Pursoon, Rigby, and Haynes. And in doing so, the performative nature of the board's previous discussions on March 10th were exposed. When presented with accurate facts exposing the self-preserving spin peddled by Pursoon, Rigby, and Haynes, our CUSD board officials fell silent. Unfortunately, in this case, silence is not power, and it is certainly not support or leadership, but it does ensure that CMS students' achievement will continue to erode, Ds and Fs will continue to climb, and instead of acknowledging and acting on the problem, it will be enshrined into next year's expectations and predictable declines. Let the minutes show at hour 1:35:30 through hour 1:42 that when given an opportunity to educate the board and community on the current SPED program, SPED Director Haynes instead provided a dog and pony show clearly designed to avoid accountability and focus everything but how well the SPED program is serving district students and families. Rather than providing data that would expose the continued degradation of CUSD's SPED program, SPED Director Haynes refused to discuss the push-in model and instead told our poorly informed board officials what they should have already known. Let the minutes show at hour 1:31:51 that CUSD refuses to reveal administrators' salary expenses on the consent agenda, while violating Ed Code by failing to invest even the mandated minimum on teacher and support staff compensation, approximately $3.5 million short in 23-24 and $2.5 million short in 24-25. And let the minutes show that Mr. Schaefer's blatant decision to violate the Brown Act by blocking public comment on future agenda items has earned CUSD yet another lawsuit. Mr. Schaefer's shallow ego and thin skin does not give him and any board member the authority to violate the law. Absent an immediate reversal of this violation, union leadership, working with community members, is compelled and will seek legal action to resolve said violation. Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor of the minutes? Aye. Okay, move on to the approval of the agenda and consent agenda. Any public comment on the approval of the agenda and consent agenda?
Thank you. Elected union leadership asked the board to support the following items contained in this evening's consent agenda. Items 2, 3, 6, 8, 9, and 11 through 14, possibly 10. Beyond those items, elected employee leadership shares concerns pertaining to others. Regarding number 1, the list of 8th grade candidates for the promotion ceremony. CMS Principal Pursoon has already stated the requirements of 8th grade students that they must meet for promotion. However, on the list of students accompanying the consent agenda item, Ms. Pursoon is asking the board to approve a list, to quote, approve a list of students that are being considered to participate in the 8th grade promotion ceremony on June 10th. Upon a quick review, it is obvious that several students fall into categories that were expressly prohibited from promotion by Ms. Pursoon herself. For example, many students listed have been suspended and or have been involved in significant behavioral incidents that would otherwise disqualify them for promotion. Many others are carrying failing grades, but we do recognize that some may, by sheer determination or increased administrative pressure, earn higher grades before the end of the semester. Union leadership has asked Principal Pursoon to reconcile the conflict between the list and the expectations she has directed faculty to support in our conversations with students and families all year. Unfortunately, as usual, Principal Pursoon has not responded, and if past is precedent, she will not. And more confusion surrounding the academic and behavioral expectations will ensue. Regarding item 12, the purchase of AED kits and first responder kits from AED Authority 4, given Ms. Rigby's half-baked approach to district safety matters, we are pleased CUSD is alas providing sufficient AEDs at all necessary locations. It's been a while, it should have happened long ago, and it is now. However, when concerning the district's failure to properly train staff on how to use them, it's understandable that Ms. Rigby would want to slide this through approval at the consent agenda without any questions or discussion that typically comes with an itemized agenda item, a singularly itemized agenda item. Union leadership reminds the board that in an emergency, we are only as strong as our weakest link, and how will CUSD ensure these AEDs will serve the intended purpose if no additional training occurs? We've heard nothing about additional training. As for item 14, once again, the district conceals the salary totals for district administrators. Why do you think CUSD is so reluctant to publicly share administrative payroll costs on the board agenda? Could it have anything to do with how they have ballooned under Superintendent Rigby? While costs associated with employees working directly with students have become an increasingly smaller portion of the CUSD budget for 5 years, CUSD again violates Ed Code by underinvesting the required portion of our budget in teacher and support staff salaries. Again, the district was approximately $3.5 million below
Thank you
in
for your
22,
comments.
324, and $2.5 million below last year.
Okay, can I
Thank
get
you.
a motion to approve the agenda and consent agenda?
All motion to approve the agenda and consent agenda?
I will second.
Any discussion? Okay, this is a roll call. Aaron?
You want me to do the roll
You can
call?
do the roll call. Yeah.
Jeanette?
Aye.
Andy?
Aye.
And I am aye.
All right. We will move on to public interest reports and presentations. Any public comment on public interest reports and presentations?
Alrighty, so with the superintendent's report, we will hear more platitudes of appreciation while the district spent the last week attempting to mislead an arbitrator about the long-practiced intent and interpretation of the teacher's salary schedule. While Superintendent Rigby and the board feign appreciation for teachers and support staff, the district has begun a new practice. They never told us about it until Friday of last week, completely in violation of the contract that refuses to recognize the very master's degrees and additional coursework that they once encouraged faculty to acquire before Ms. Rigby arrived. While she drips appreciation at this board meeting, Rigby pays her lawyers behind closed doors to defend recently fabricated interpretations designed to undermine the delivery of high-quality services to students and families, actually designed to save money, but it will undermine the delivery of high-quality services. If you want to know how Ms. Rigby and the board are screwing people this month, just take a look at who receives her special attention in the superintendent's report. While she sends appreciation to district teachers, the superintendent's lawyers just told an arbitrator that a plus sign doesn't mean additionally or addition. It means after, as in 3 plus 2 doesn't equal 5, but rather 3 after 2 equals 5. And if you're confused, so are we. But that's the argument Ms. Rigby paid the district lawyers to peddle in hopes of winning CUSD's first grievance in 20 years. Although the lawyers haven't billed the district yet, you can expect another $100,000 expense to show up on the pay warrant soon, tied to this grievance now arbitration. While Ms. Rigby showers hollow appreciation, you'll also have to accept that for the last 15, 20, and 25 years, CUSD is claiming that it has made an accounting error and has been accidentally overpaying many teachers, anywhere from $6,000 to $10,000 a year. While showering appreciation on teachers in the superintendent's report, Ms. Rigby's lawyers have moved to cancel and or deny salary credit for the advanced degrees teachers were once encouraged to earn, and did earn. Even though these master's degrees have been documented with the district for 15, 20, or 25 years, teachers are being told that they will not be recognized when calculating placement on the salary schedule. That is, if the district wins last week's arbitration. Look at the record, Ms. Rigby. You'll see exactly what your lawyers said.
That's blatantly
And with that in
false
mind,
statement right
excuse
there.
me,
That's
you're
a
not supposed to cut me
blatantly-
off.
blatant-
Union leadership shares
You-
appreciation for district teachers.
You're discussing a legal
I'd like my
proceeding.
time back.
No,
I'd like my
you're
time back.
discussing a legal proceeding.
And Mr. Schaefer, are you sure you're okay? Because you do not look wealthy, or well. I
I'm
shouldn't
sorry,
say
Mr.
healthy
Hochner.
right
I've
now.
stayed quiet
You-
this
Are you
entire
sure
time
you're
that
okay?
I've been on this board, and
You.
your tone and the way that you're speaking, using the word screwed, is really inappropriate at a
You know
school
what?
board meeting.
I'm sorry, but there is a wide berth that I am provided when I'm speaking, and I am generally very much
Okay, your comments are
inside the
over.
polite.
Please
Thank you.
sit down. Please sit down.
So you're going to,
Yes, I am. You're completely out of line here.
Mr. Schaefer, you're again violating the Brown Act. Are you doing okay, Mr. Schaefer? Because you were like
if-
10 shades of scarlet before I even began talking.
Okay.
Are you doing all right?
If you're not going to sit down, I'm going to ask the deputies to
Yeah,
come and remove
okay.
you.
I'll sit down because at threat of being removed and having the First Amendment, Second Amendment rights cut off, okay, that's fine. But Mr. Schaefer, are you sure you're okay?
That's absolutely not
came
acceptable.
into this a little hot.
That's absolutely not acceptable language, Mr. Hochner.
Sorry, Lacey. We're going to move on to your comments. Thank you.
For the 2026 spring sports season, it still has some upcoming CIF Southern Section events coming up. Our baseball team is competing in Division 7 and will travel to La Canada on Friday to face Flintridge Prep in the first round of playoffs. Track and field athletes who qualified will compete at the Division 4 finals at Moore Park High School, where they'll give one last strong performance this season. Also, on Thursday, May 21st, Coach Charles and CHS will host the doubles competition for the CIF Southern Section Individual Boys Tennis Sectionals. Last night, CHS recognized more than 250 students in grades 9 through 12 for earning a GPA of 3.5 or higher. Students in grades 9 through 11 were also honored for outstanding achievements in different academic subjects. On May 1st, seniors had the opportunity to share their plans after high school at a special sign-up table on campus. Students announced plans including college, career pathways, jobs, and military service. Prom will also take place this Saturday, May 16th, at the Marmonte Hotel. This year's theme is Bridgerton Masquerade. The dance will be held from 7 to 10 p.m., and after prom will take place at Boleros in Goleta from 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. On Friday, May 29th, seniors will attend grad night at Six Flags Magic Mountain, and there will be 2 buses there to take students to the park for an overnight celebration filled with rides and activities. Thank you.
Thanks, Lacey. All right, we'll move on to Diana's report.
Sure, thank you. Thanks, Lacey, and congratulations to you and all your classmates, the awards. It was just amazing. I've never seen so many awards for such high academic achievement. Wow, what a class. Congratulations. Okay, I'd like to begin with our National Teacher Appreciation Week. It was last week, May 4th through the 8th. Is a week-long celebration in recognition of teachers and their contributions they make to education and society. It is held in the first full week of May of every year and provides an opportunity for the school community to show their appreciation for all the hard work done by teachers. At each school site, our teachers were honored and celebrated for their impact on students and their families. We also had National Principals Day, and that's celebrated every May 1st. The day acknowledges the valuable work performed by our principals and assistant principals. It recognizes the contributions made by frontline leaders who interact daily with students, staff, parents, and community members. Thank you to CUSD principals and assistant principals, Gerardo Corneo, Kirsten Newman, Jeremiah Sabenis at the high school, Jamie Pursoon and James Anderson at the middle school, Luis Quintero at Canalino and Family School, Brett Weiberg at Aliso, and Shannon Colson is our teacher in charge at Summerland. We also have National School Nurse Day, and that was established to foster a better understanding of the role of school nurses in the educational setting. School Nurse Day was celebrated on Wednesday, May 6th, and we recognize CUSD school nurse Tiffany Rhodes for her excellent health care that she provides to our students and their families. We also celebrated School Lunch Hero Day, and that's held annually on the first Friday in May in honor of each person responsible for providing breakfast and lunches to millions of children across America. Each staff member responsible for making sure nutritious food is offered to students is a hero, and this day was specially designed to show appreciation for their valuable and important contributions to students' well-being. We appreciate Chef Michelle Hernandez and our food services team. And then I'd like to recognize our classified school employees. May 17th through the 23rd is California School Employee Week, and we salute the important contributions of all CUSD classified school employees, and we appreciate their hard work and dedication to our students and their families. I now have some congratulations. Please join me in congratulating our CUSD colleagues who were selected to receive a 2025-26 Santa Barbara County Office of Education Teachers Network Grant. Jackie Nechtel, Maria Espita, and Cynthia Diaz, Sonia Aguila and Nicole McKenzie at Canalino School, Caitlin Dameron at Aliso, Mandy DeWitt, Audrey Rogren at the high school. These teachers will be honored at the County Office Education Celebration on Thursday, May 21st at the Craft House in Solvang. Now we'll move on to our state testing. Each year, CUSD administers the Smarter Balance summative assessments to students in grades 3 through 8 and 11 for English Language Arts and Mathematics during May and June. The California Science Test is required for students in grades 5, 8, and once in grades 10, 11, or 12. The California Alternate Assessment for English Language Arts and Math is for students with the most significant cognitive disabilities who are unable to participate in the Smarter Balance summative assessments. The primary purpose of the CAS system is to assist teachers, administrators, students, and parents by promoting high-quality teaching and learning through the use of a variety of assessment approaches and item types. There is a web page at CalEdFax, and it provides a more detailed overview of the tests. At the end of April, on April 28th, we held CMS's Fuse Night. That's the Family Ultimate Science Exploration, which is a program that helps students and their families build familiarity with science, understand its importance in education, and explore exciting career opportunities. Fuse Night is offered twice a year at Santa Barbara Unified Junior High Schools and Carpinteria Middle School, where 8th grade students and their families rotate through 3 30-minute hands-on science activities in physics, chemistry, and biology. These sessions were led by undergraduate and graduate students from the University of California, Santa Barbara, along with industry volunteers who also share their academic journeys and personal interests. I'd like to announce that May is National Mental Health Month, and CUSD recognizes that our students and families have mental health needs, and we provide robust support for students' well-being. At every school site, the principal leads a weekly mental health team meeting with a school psychologist, counselors, and school-based mental health therapists from Family Service Agency, and that team monitors the student mental health wellnesses at their site. By providing school-based mental health services, therapists help students develop coping strategies, manage stress, improve self-esteem, and increase academic achievement. CUSD also provides mental health confidential care providers at Bright Life Kids and Suluna. They're both websites. Our next item is the second interim financial report analysis and recommendations. The county office has reported the district's second interim financial report, with a positive certification to the State Department of Education. Recommendations include rebuilding reserves should remain a top priority to support long-term fiscal stability. The district's projected reserve at 7.56% is well below both the statewide average of all districts at 24% and the board's recommended minimum average of 10%, which is Board Policy 3100. My next item is to announce our promotions and graduation ceremonies. I'd like to remind everyone that we begin with the June 5th is Summerlin School's 5th grade promotion will be at 1, and the Family Schools promotion will be at 5:30. And then on June 10th, we'll begin with the 5th grade promotion at Canalino at 8:30. Aliso will follow at 10. Carpinteria Middle School will have its 8th grade promotion at 3. And then Carpinteria High School will have our graduation June 10th, 6 p.m. I'd like to also share some information about the Carpinteria Children's Project at the main school, their outdoor education program. Teresa Alvarez, director of CCP, has expressed her gratitude for our district's partnership with CCP and reported on the renovation of the 4 outdoor yard spaces into nature-based learning environments for the 80 young children served by CCP. These outdoor spaces are more than just playgrounds. They are extensions of their classrooms designed to support whole child development through sensory play, gardening, STEM exploration, and social-emotional learning. CCP partnered with Nature Explore to provide research-based professional development for CCP's 15 early child educators throughout the year. This project will be completed by December 2026. And then my last item is Measure U. So I have good news. We installed the dewatering system at the Aliso building site, and that continues to proceed with good results. 6 24-inch diameter holes were drilled along the foundation perimeter with turbine pumps feeding the water through a piping system to a 1,000-gallon sediment tank. The Carpinteria Sanitation District was helpful in issuing a permit to discharge the filtered water from the tank directly into the on-site sanitary sewer. The dewatering will continue, but the results to date have enabled the foundation stabilization and over-X work to resume. Now we just need a lot of sunny weather to dry that soil. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Lacey, I'd just like to say that this class, we all think that the class before is so great, especially when our kids are in it. But your class should be so proud of themselves. The achievement that they've achieved and the achievement that they've brought on to themselves and their class through college acceptance. I mean, it's really quite impressive, and I hope you can convey that to your classmates when you get back. But it really it helps motivate us to continue doing what we're doing, and it just shows that there's a lot of positivity going on in this district, and I think you guys are all benefiting from it. So, yeah, it's great. It's really great to see, and we're super excited to see what everybody achieves and what you're able to come back and share with future classes.
Yes, of course. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to F, board policies. Any public comment on F, board policies?
All right, so regarding these policies, it's going to be ironic to watch our board officials and administrators make a big to-do about the policies they selectively hold everyone else to, but routinely fail to hold themselves to in the process of conducting district business. This night will be no different. Please understand that it is demoralizing for many of the faculty, staff, and families of our district to watch the virtue signaling that goes on behind the board days, only to know that our board members and most influential district administrators routinely hold these very policies, like the ones tonight, in contempt as they practice the unique form of leadership promoted, defended, and even participated in by our school board, and especially our school board president, witnessed once again this evening. Daily, district personnel experience and persevere under the variety of violations that continue to occur. related to these policies.
Mr. Hochner?
Talking about the policies, Mr.
Which
Schaefer.
which policy?
They attack on elected employee representatives, both policies. There's two there. You have them in
That's
front
not
of
what
you.
we're talking about. We're talking about
Yes,
board
it is.
policies.
Yes, that's what we're talking about as well.
No,
That's what we're
F1.
talking about.
F1.
Yes, that's exact. Graduation requirements. Okay, first off, I'm going to request all the time from the moment that he cut me off for the third time
No,
tonight.
you're not
We
speaking
talked
to the,
in the
you're not
consent agenda.
speaking to the
We talked in
items.
the consent agenda about the very list of students that does not match the expectations
No,
for
that has nothing
graduating
to do
students.
with this
And it is that process is
it-
founded in the board policy.
You cannot.
You would
wind
like
your-
it to be otherwise,
Okay,
Mr. Schaefer,
okay,
but
you
you're
can sit
speaking
down
to a
again.
different
Once
audience right
again,
now.
you can sit down
Speaking
because
to
you're
a
not
different
addressing,
audience right
you're
now.
not addressing
Right.
the items
I am.
on the agenda.
Are you going to again then threaten to remove my rights as a citizen in the community
If you're not
to
following.
speak? Is that what you're
if
going to
Not
do?
following the rules of our meeting.
Which I'm doing.
No, which you're not. You're not speaking to these items.
Which I'm doing, Mr. Schaefer.
You're not.
Yes.
You're
I
not.
am.
You're using this as an opportunity to be
Okay,
critical
so if
of
you're
the
going to cut
board.
me off, go ahead. To the community,
No,
please
what-
know
so
that we
what-
understand our
please-
comments and
please-
stridency
Mr.
may
Hoff,
look
please-
aggressive, it may
please
look
stop.
ugly, and even
Mr.
disloyal.
Okay,
Are you telling me I must sit down?
you sit down.
So, okay, thank
Sit
you.
down.
You've done it again tonight. That's
Yes.
another violation. Thank you, Mr. Schaefer.
Let the record reflect board policies are about physical education and activity updated, as well as high school graduation requirements. F1 and F2, those two policies. As a board member, since I was addressed directly, I'm going to state that I do not violate physical education and high school graduation requirements. Thank you.
That's what happened with the consent agenda. As a matter of fact.
Okay, so we're going to go on to item F1, which is Board Policy and Administrative Regulation 6142.7, Physical Education and Activity. This is an update of an existing policy, a first reading. Can I get a motion to approve?
I'll motion to approve.
I'll second.
Okay. And just to be clear, I will read the updates of these policies and administrative regulation align with current law and California Department of Education guidance, including provisions to ensure equitable access and participation for all students. Revisions incorporate requirements to provide accommodations during religious fasting, establish and annually review extreme weather protocols, and authorize an alternate term schedule for grades 6 through 12 physical education. The AR further defines extreme weather, outlines components of the alternate term schedule, removes outdated language, and reflects SB 75, extending uniform complaint procedures to physical education instruction minutes in grades 7 through 12. These updates ensure legal compliance and support safe and inclusive physical education programs. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Okay, the second item is Board Policy 6146.1, High School Graduation Requirements. This is a first reading of an updated board policy, which will reflect recent state legislation pursuant to AB 714, SB 114, SB 141, and AB 821, and aligning district policy and current law and upcoming changes to graduation requirements. This update removes the previous regulation, AR 6146.1. The revisions reaffirm the board's commitment to preparing students for graduation and post-secondary success by outlining required coursework under Education Code 51225.3 while clarifying additional district-adopted requirements and available exemptions. Key updates include expanded guidance on exemptions, including those for highly mobile students such as foster youth, students experiencing homelessness, former juvenile court school students, military-connected students, migratory students, and newcomer program participants. Continued authorization for the career technical education excuse me, to satisfy visual performing arts or world language requirements, and clarification that ethnic studies graduation requirement beginning in 2930 is contingent on state funding. Policy also establishes standalone one-semester personal finance course requirements beginning in 2030-31. Further clarifies the board's authority to adopt additional graduation requirements and corresponding exemptions. These changes will not affect students in the classes of 27, 28, or 29 who will continue to follow current graduation requirements. Okay, can I get a motion there?
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
All right, any discussion?
What I'd like to share is what you're going to see differently for next year for the incoming freshmen is that financial literacy class will be offered and will be replacing Get Focused, Stay Focused class. So that's the change that you're going to see for the freshman class.
Okay, great.
I think that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, my only comment was going to be, I'm excited to see some real-life finance courses
Yeah,
for students.
For sure.
So that they know how to claim on their taxes and all those lovely things.
yeah, yeah, good, thank you. All right, all in favor? Aye. All right. Move on to educational services. Do we have any public comment on educational services? No public comment on educational services?
I'm looking for it, I'm sorry. Perhaps if I say nothing, it will be my best opportunity not to be cut off by you, Mr. Schaefer.
Okay,
have
since
the
there's
Brown
no
Act
public
violated
comment on
again.
educational services,
Thank you.
we will move on. Purchase of, we're being asked to approve the purchase of the ELA curriculum Common Lit 360. Can I get a motion?
All approve the purchase of ELA curriculum Common Lit 360.
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion?
I'd just like to share the information that our high school teachers have been piloting this for 2 years, and our middle school teachers piloted this last year, and their feedback indicated that they're very interested in us purchasing the curriculum for them to use in their English language arts classes for 26-27.
Great, fantastic. All right, just to be clear, the teacher training is included in the support, to support strong implementation, and the cost will be $37,800, and a PD, what's PD?
A professional
A
development.
professional bundle of $2,500 will be paid for with lottery funds.
And this is the 3-year cost.
Okay, all right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. All right, we'll move on to business operations facilities. Do we have any public comment on business operation facilities?
Thank you. Rogelio Delgado, Carpinteria resident. No question. I saw a charge by Cox Communications, internet and phone service for $3,078. The question I have is that have you checked other companies? They probably charge less. Out of the top of my mind, for example, Frontier is probably more powerful than Cox, and could be cheaper. But just a question that came to my mind. Currently, reserves at 7.64, if I'm not mistaken. It's well below your expectations of 24%. Why is that?
Well, our expectation is actually 10%. The state average is 24%.
Okay, all right, okay. All right, let's say 10%, but why don't you have at least 10%? Realistically,
It's a good point.
yeah,
Yeah.
you should have 15, 20, 30%. Just cut your expenses, regardless of the type of expenses. Just cut them, and then we'll have a healthy budget. Thank you.
Thank you.
Alrighty, so we are pleased to see that this evening's warrants contain less legal expenditures than usual. This is especially true when considering that in the last 3 months, CUSD spent $850,000 on legal fees, which is more than $250,000 above the amount previously budgeted for the entire school year. This evening, CUSD adds only $9,500 to the 3-month total. However, with the recent arbitration last week and the 4 other arbitrations recently scheduled for the late summer and early autumn, there will be some whopping bills on upcoming warrants that will need to be reconciled before the year is over. And remember, the $9,500 in legal fees on this evening's warrants is not only added to the $850,000 spent between January and April. When considering the 25-26 budget, it must also be added to the $1 million plus in legal fees spent between August and December 2025. Those costs must also be applied to the legal budget overruns for the 25-26 school year, now estimated to come in at about $1 million to $1.5 million over the budgeted amount. So there goes more resources for students, after-school programs, technology improvements, lower class size, additional teachers, desperately needed sped aids at the secondary level, and on and on and on, that won't be going to students and families. When we get to the proposed budget, we're going to start on the last page and work our way backwards. To acquire a realistic figure associated with district reserves, you must take note of page 14, where $4 million has been removed from the budget, under predictions that that $4 million will eventually be paid in legal fees and settlements. $4 million is approximately 20% of the district's reserves. So if you're looking at the actual numbers, the estimated actuals right now would be 27%, not 7%, 33% for 26-27, 37% for 27-28, and 21, let's see, that would come to about 41% for 28-29. Just another one of the tricks that you all use when you're overestimating expenditures and underestimating revenues. We'll go to another page here. Page 14 again, AB 218 claims removes $4 million from the budget. Yep. When we come to page 13, it looks like you've added the healthcare increase for this year. Thank you for doing that. It's a more realistic number. Where we start to see really misleading slides is when we look at the history of cost of living increases. Mr. Kaff chose to end the calculation associated with average salary increases in 21-22. Had he included 2022 and 19-20, he would have been forced to include 2 successive years of 0 salary increases.
Thank you for your
would have
comments.
significantly driven down that average salary
Thank you,
increase.
Mr. Hoshner.
Yes.
Please sit down.
There's so much more to say. When you have a budget
But
study, will you please notify
I
us?
appreciate you,
Thank you.
exhibiting your clear lack of understanding how to read a balance sheet. Because that was amazing, really. Okay, we're being asked to approve the warrants of April 10th through May 7th in the amount of $1,449,835.59. Can I get a motion?
I'll move to approve the warrants.
I will second.
All right, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, gifts, grants, and donations. We are being asked to accept a grant from Rotary Club in the amount of $2,950 to Canalino School for the purchase of a new sound system for stage productions. And the check was presented to Angela White and Shanna Hargett at the Rotary meeting last 2 weeks ago. Can I get a motion to approve?
All motion to approve with thanks.
I'll second.
Thank you, Rotary. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Item 3 is Arts, Music, and Instructional Materials Discretionary Block Grant Spending Plan. Board is asked to approve the Art, Music, and Instructional Materials Discretionary Block Grant Spending Plan. The district received $1,245,408 in one-time funding during the 22-23 school year, which must be fully expended by June 30th of this year. The grant requires an approved spending plan and allows funds to be used for professional development, instructional materials, school climate improvements, culturally relevant library collections, operational costs, and COVID-19 related expenses. The total grant amount was $1,245,408. Can I get a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve.
I will second.
Any discussion? I mean, this money is mostly has been spent, correct, Diana? Yeah. Yeah.
For the items that-
And we're just approving the closeout of the,
Yes.
of the grant.
Yeah, the last year.
Yeah, okay. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, item 4 is a Bell intercom system by Pacificom for the middle school. And this is the approval of IP speakers and horns for the middle school, new Bell intercom and emergency notification system that will tie in with the Gen 7 buildings. This approval will allow the system to be completed through the remainder of the campus. The cost of $49,673.36 will be paid for with deferred maintenance funds. Can I get a motion?
I'll move to approve the Bell.
All right, well, second.
All right, any discussion?
This is, just to be clear, replacing a pretty old system, right? You said when we were touring.
Yes, we have an old system and a new system, and they're not integrated very well. So as you
Which we
saw
saw
when
during
we
our
visited,
tours,
there was no
yeah.
bells, so.
Okay, great, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, move on to item 5 is a proposed draft budget presentation for the 26-27 school year. Jason?
Okay, well, so for tonight, we'll be taking a second look, basically, at the proposed 26-27 draft budget. The first two slides are the same that we saw back last month, back in April. So slide 2 is district goals, and since we've seen this before, I'll just kind of advance to slide 3, which is the core budgeting principles. And once again, I'd just like to bring the board's attention to the BP 3100, which is our board policy, which references the 10% reserve policy. Then I'll go ahead and just advance to slide 4. As the board is aware, we are now in May, and so we're at May 12th. So next in June, we are going to have 2 separate meetings. All public school districts are required to have 2 separate meetings to approve their budget. So that's the reason we're going to have a meeting on June 9th, which is for the public hearing for the budget and also the public hearing on the LCAP. And then you'll see right below that, then we're going to have a second meeting in June, on June 16th, for the budget adoption and the LCAP adoption. And the budget and the LCAP have to go hand in hand, which is why you're seeing those being talked about on June 9th and also on June 16th. On this slide here, we're looking at the 26-27 governor's January proposal. There has been one change to this since we last saw it back in April. Up on the top left for the 26-27 projected LCFF COLA. Previously, it was 2.41%, but it was just recently updated to 2.87, so that's why you're seeing a slightly increased number there for that. With regards to the property tax projections, currently we're still keeping those at 4%, like we've talked about the past couple meetings. If we get new information that warrants an increase or any type of revision to the property taxes, we will do that and bring that back to the board. And just in the middle of the slide there, basically, you'll see the pension rate increases. I think we went over this at the last meeting. And at the bottom, you'll see the total statutory benefits for both classified and certificated positions. On this next slide here, sample cost to district for positions. This is basically the same slide that we saw last meeting. And what it does, it just shows some examples of different positions and their respective salaries, and also the statutory benefits that are tied to positions, and also the health and welfare costs that are tied to positions as well. So for example, if we look for a teacher, if we have a teacher they're around $75,000 on the salary schedule, that teaching position also has statutory benefits, which cost the district about $16,000. In addition, that teacher most likely will take the health and welfare benefits, and so for 26-27, that'll cost the district about $26,000. So when we add all 3 of those columns together, a teacher that has a pay of about $75,000, the total cost to the district is about $118,000. Now, the reason I bring this up is because a lot of times people aren't aware that there are statutory and health and welfare costs associated with positions because they don't necessarily see them. But on my side of the table where I sit, I see all of these, and so I just wanted to bring this to the board's attention once again that these positions have statutory benefits that cost the district, as well as health and welfare that cost the district funds as well. This next slide here, the history of property tax revenues, is the same that we saw last time. We're showing a history back to 1920 through 2728. Down there at the bottom, as I mentioned before, for 26-27 and 27-28 for the out years, we are still projecting 4%. Once again, if we get new information that warrants a revision to those percentages, we will go ahead and do that. But that is the best information that we have regarding property taxes at this time. On slide number 8, which is basically the history of salary increases, you can see we go back to 21-22, and at the far right is 26-27. You'll notice that in the boxes for 26-27, it's TBD because we have not yet settled negotiations for either certificated or classified for 26-27. But just to provide some context, a 1% salary increase equates to about a $200,000 cost to the district. The next slide here, we have the history of health and welfare increases. This is the same slide that we saw last time. So we have the history going back a few years, back to 21-22, all the way out to our new rates, which will become effective October 1st of 26. And you'll see those are represented in the far right-hand column. And as you just go through each year, you can just see that each year we are seeing, as probably everybody is, increases to our health and welfare benefits. On the next slide here, this slide has not changed either. This is the 5-year financial history with the current year, so with 25-26. And probably what I would just bring your attention to is kind of the reserve percentage, which is represented at the very bottom of this slide for each respective year. And so now we are in the far right-hand side. So for 25-26, we are estimating that we are going to end our year at June 30th, 26, with the fund balance of about $5.6 million and the respective reserve percentage of about 7.71%. Now, just as for more information, I will once again reiterate that for school districts our size, we are required to have at least 3%. At least 3% average. That is the bare minimum. But the average California school district has a reserve percentage, and I think the latest numbers were between like 22 and 24%. So even though we're slightly above the 3%, the average, once again, is between like 22 and 24%. On the next slide here, this is the same that we saw back in April. This is the 5-year financial history for special education. And once again, I would just draw your attention to the far right-hand side, which has the 25-26 year for the estimated actuals for special education. So for this year, for special ed, we are projecting to receive revenue of about $2.3 million. However, the expenditures for special education we're projecting to come in at around $7.9 million. So as you can tell, the expenditures way exceed the revenues, so that has to be made up in some fashion. And so the way school districts do it is the general fund has to do a contribution to the special education resource to make it self-sufficient. So that's why you're seeing that $5.6 million there. What that represents is the unrestricted side of the general fund contributing money to the restricted side for special education. And $5.6 million for a district our size is fairly sizable. This next slide here, entitled the 26-27 Budget Assumptions, this is basically the same slide with one slight revision that we saw last meeting in April. So in this slide here, we start off with the 25-26 estimated actuals revenue, just unrestricted, and then we're adding in the property tax, the projected property tax increases for next year, and a slight increase to the mandate block grant that we're receiving through the increased COLA. So what that's telling us is for next year, we're expected to receive about $1.3 million more than we did this year, which would bring our 26-27 projected revenues, projected unrestricted revenues up to around $29.7 million. on the next slide here, slide 13, we are looking at the unrestricted expenditure budget drivers. And this is basically the same slide that we saw last time with one revision. As you can tell on the left-hand side there, we have the different expense categories. But I do want to bring attention to the board that there was one change, which had to do with the health and welfare benefit increases. In the last meeting, we had it at $433,000. However, we received new information that the increase was actually going to be more, and it was going to be about $501,000. So that is a slight revision I'd like to point out to the board. So when we add up all of these budget drivers, what this is telling us is that we're expecting to see our unrestricted expenses increase by about 1.1 million for next year. And at the bottom of that expense category listing, you'll notice that there's a category for 26-27 salary increases. But once again, on the far right-hand side, that's also labeled with TBD because that's still to be determined. On the next slide here, it's entitled Unrestricted Budget Reductions. So what we're looking at here are expenses that we are not going to have next year. So we're not going to have these expenses next year in 26-27, so we're backing them out of our expenses. So the first big one that we're going to not have in 26-27 were the AB 218 claims for $4 million. So we were backing that out of the budget. And also additional legal services of about $550,000. And so we're backing that out as well. So what that's saying is for next year, we expect to have about $4.5 million less in unrestricted expenditures. And this next slide here, slide 15, entitled The Unrestricted Expenditure Budget Assumptions. So what we're doing here is we're kind of summarizing the expenditure changes. So we're starting off with this year, the 25-26 expenditures of about 31 million. Then we're adding in additional expenditures of 1.1, and then we're subtracting the expenses we're not going to have next year, which is that $4.5 million, which nets out to about $3.3 million to the negative. So what that means is for next year, we're projecting to see about $3.3 million less in unrestricted expenditures. So we'd be looking at expenditures in the area of about $27.6 million for 26-27. The next slide kind of brings it all together. And that's why it's called the Projected Unrestricted Fund Balance and Reserves. So at the top, you'll notice there we're starting with the estimated actuals ending balance. So we're projecting that our 6/30/26 budget will end up with about $3.6 million. And once again, that'll be our beginning balance for next fiscal year. And then we have our projected unrestricted revenue of about 29.7. Then we have our expenditures of about $27.6 million. And those net out to about $2.1 million to the positive. So we should see our fund balance increase by about $2.1 million. And that's why you're seeing our projected 26-27 unrestricted ending balance come in at about 5.7 million, which equates to about a 13.53 budget reserve. And on the next slide here is the multi-year projection. Once again, I think I've mentioned that the MYP, the multi-year projection, is an extremely important slide and exercise that we all must do. All public school districts must do it, because basically what we have to do is go through and project with the best of our ability what our revenues will be for the next 3 years, and in addition what our expenditures will be, so we can see where that takes the district financially. So you can see on the far left, we start off with 25-26, and at the bottom there you'll notice the reserve balance that we're projecting. So this year, we're projecting to end the year with a reserve of about 7.71, and then for 26-27, about 13.53, and 27-28, around 16.88, and 28-29, we're projecting about 21.34%. However, for the out years, 26-27 and 7-8 and 8-9, I also want to throw my standard caveat that the 26-27 salary negotiations have not concluded. So once those do, those will increase our expenditures, and as a result of that, those reserve balances will decrease. So that's the standard, caveat I wanted to share with the board as well. And once again, I wanted to point out the fact that even though our reserve balance is growing, which is fantastic, that the average school district does have a reserve balance between 22 and 24%. So,
Great.
thank you.
Thanks, Jason. Yeah, it'd be nice if we could get negotiations settled and give our staff a raise on July 1st.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Any questions for Jason?
I have three questions,
Sure.
sorry. The first would be, when you're looking at the slide 17, the multi-year projection, I realize you're looking at revenues increasing by 4%, but what are you looking at in terms of our expenditure increases? Are you leaving those flat, or how are you calculating those?
Yeah, no, so for the probably a good way to do that would be, it's kind of outlined on slide. So for salaries, what I'm doing is I'm doing the step and column increase.
Okay.
And so I'm using about 3%. And once again, our salary schedules aren't squared. So some cells receive more than others, but as an average, so I'm using about 3% to increase our salaries from one year to the next.
Okay.
And I'm also using a COLA to increase like professional services or things of that nature. So each year, I guess to answer your question, costs are increasing, as we all know that unfortunately they do.
What kind of factor do you have in there for like utilities? I mean, you have a factor in there for
Yes.
utilities and for health insurance.
Maintenance and things like that as the buildings get older, all that.
Yes, I don't have the exact number in front of me, but it's around 2 to 2.5%.
And there's a statutory number that we have to put in for deferred maintenance too. That's like it's like a statutory requirement that has to be set aside.
Okay, thank you. And then for, when you mentioned the, a 1% salary increase totals about 200K, for that, is that just the salary number? It doesn't include the statutory increases?
So that includes everything.
Clarify?
So
Okay.
yes, so it includes the salary and also the statutory, workers' comp,
Okay.
PERS, STRS, yes.
Okay.
So it's everything.
Perfect. And then my last question is, and this is my first big budget review, so excuse me if this is not a great question, but when you're calculating the reserve balance, what number are you using? So obviously we have the ending fund balance, but what are you dividing by? Like, what's the total number in terms of, it's 7% of what? What's the number that we start with?
So are you asking where the 7% comes from?
Yeah, basically, how do you calculate that?
Oh,
Because
okay.
it's 5.6 million is 7% of what number? I couldn't figure out any numbers on here that mathed out.
So basically, it's the minimum reserve, if we're looking at the very last page, page 17,
Uh-huh.
the 1.4 million, that is 3% of the total expenditures of the general fund budget.
And so would that be that,
That's restricted and unrestricted.
Yes, it's combined, restricted and unrestricted.
okay,
And then based off that, we
So
figure
it's
out the reserve balance.
7 million right there.
okay. Okay, thank you. That was all I had, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Larry, do you have anything? Nope. All right. And just to be clear, the $4 million that we're saying we're not going to spend next year is not necessarily found money. It's just money that we took out of a restricted account and we allocated it to the general fund so we could settle the AB 218 claims.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, in fact, if we go to slide 10, we can kind of go over that if you'd like. So slide 10, that's the slide entitled 5-Year History with the current year. And if you look at column 24-25 as compared to 25-26, you will see a big jump in revenues. So for example, in 24-25, we're looking at about 41.8. And then in this year, it jumps to about 47.9. And on the expense side as well, you notice in 24-25, 41 million, and this year, 47 million. Now, the reason we're seeing a very significant jump from 24-25 to this year is due to the AB 218 claim. So yes, We did transfer in $4.2 million from the sale of the Baylor property into the general fund, which is one of the main reasons why you're seeing that extremely large jump in revenues. And then correspondingly, we paid that $4 million in AB 218 claims out of the general fund, which is why you're seeing that extremely large jump in expenditures from one year to the next as well.
Great, thanks for clarifying.
For general accounting, that would be, most companies would call that a non-recurring, right? Like, that's basically what it is.
That sounds right.
Yeah, thank you.
And and everything is done on a accrued basis, not on a cash basis.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, that was just presentation, right? Are we approving that? Presentation only, okay. Okay, we'll move on to item I, Measure U. Do we have any public comment on Measure U? No public comment. So we're being asked to renew the contract with Fonder Solari for construction management services for Measure U. The board is asked to approve the renewal of one-year agreement with Fonder Solari. They will be working as part of Measure U as the project manager and planning specialist. Construction manager Scott Bronsema from Fonder Solari will be assigned to our district. Hourly rate of compensation is $151 with an estimated annual cost not to exceed $304,416 and will be paid for with Measure U funds. Can I get a motion?
I'll move to approve.
I will second.
Yeah, I just, those costs have gone up significantly from the start of this project. But I think that's when you look at what students are getting offered for jobs right out of Cal Poly with a construction management degree, you can see where these rates come from. Yeah, so that's good for our students and graduates. All right, we have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, move on to item J, personnel. Do we have any public comment on item J, personnel?
All righty, thank you. So as of this date, the union has submitted both certificated and classified openers as per contract requirements. Certificated in March of 2026 and classified just this evening, 2026. Fortunately, you do not have the authority to reject these also, as your behavior this evening makes it pretty clear what you would do if you thought you could. We are now entering the 26-27 bargaining cycle, which is a fully open cycle. A fully open contract allows employees to open any contract article they wish, any and every if they wish, and to submit as many proposals deemed necessary. The CAUS E-Board has received several interests and proposals from employees, and we will use those to inform more specific proposals when we will then carry those to the bargaining table as each contract article is discussed. As the bargaining partners review the openers attached to this evening's agenda and subsequently prepare for our first negotiation session, CAUS draws your attention to a suggestion we included in the Sunshine document. We suggested that the CUSD maintain status quo for CUSD 2026 and 27 instructional calendar, and in doing so, we believe this will help district employees, students, and families plan for the upcoming school year with increased confidence, and that's something we could resolve at our very first meeting. Although we were aware of none at the time, CAUS of course remains open to including any mandated changes required by state or ed code. And lastly, we believe you will, Mr. Schaefer, have an opportunity to confirm a raise prior to July, that it will be coming, even though it will not be the result of the upcoming bargaining sessions. Just as the union told the community in spring 2025, the district's over-projections of expenditures and underestimation of revenues, which we've seen again tonight, has resulted in unrealistic budget projections in spring of 2025. Fortunately, the union had the foresight to file for impasse when it was clear that the district was unwilling to bargain over realistic numbers. And based on the contingency formula we demanded, it looks like the salary increase tied to more realistic property tax triggers will actually populate, and there will be a 2% on-schedule salary increase in October. But we're waiting to hear from Mr. Caff on that. Thank you very much.
Okay, move on to item personnel summary. We have 4 personnel assignments. We have 4 leave of absence 1, and release and probation 1. Can I get a motion to approve the personnel summary?
I'll move to approve.
I will second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and item 2 is an initial proposal from the Carpinteria Association of Unified School Employees, CAUSE, classified local 2216, for negotiations to collective bargaining agreement with Carpinteria Unified School District for the 26-27 school year. Fiscal implications are to be determined. Can I get a motion to approve?
No.
Oh, it's just information. Okay, thank you. Okay, and we're going to move on to future agenda items, and there's nothing to take action there, so we will not take any public comment. And board calendar the same. I don't think we have any public comment on board calendar.
Mr. Schaefer, you are required to allow public
No, we're
comment
not.
on future agenda
No,
items.
thank you, we're not.
Under what authority are you saying you're not supposed to?
Check with your attorney.
Oh, we haven't, we will continue, yes,
Yeah,
and you'll be
please-
hearing
please
as well.
do.
But can you please clarify what authority you're relying on to deny
I'm-
the public the right to comment on future agenda
Well,
items?
Brown Act, we're not taking action, so please sit
So
down.
where in the Brown Act,
Please-
Mr. Schaefer?
please sit down.
Mr. Schaefer, where in the Brown Act would we find that?
You can do your research.
It appears that you haven't done your research.
Huh? Yeah, we're gonna move on
Yes,
to
we'd like to
board
do future agenda items, yes.
announcements. No, board announcements.
For agenda items, is that right?
Board announcements.
Future agenda items, Mr. Schaefer?
No.
No? Are you sure about that? Well, you could put this to rest by sharing the authority that you're referring on, Mr. Schaefer. You
Please
could
sit
put it to
down,
rest
Mr.
right away.
Hoshner.
Would you like to?
You've
Or
occupied,
is
you've dominated
it
this
that
meeting.
you cannot?
So please sit down.
Mr. Schaefer,
Board
we
announcements.
really,
Do you
it's
have-
important that we provide insight into what we believe are future agenda items.
Jeanette, do you have any?
Yeah, I have a couple announcements. I'm excited for
Okay,
next
thank you
week
very much.
on
So
May
you will deny,
19th.
is that
We
correct?
have
You
our
will deny-
CTE
Please
partner
Deny our right to speak, is that correct?
event.
Feel free to gavel, Mr. Schaefer, so that it's formal that you've denied the right to that you've denied the
Sit
right.
down.
Thank you very much, Mr. Schaefer.
I'm excited for next week's May 19th event with our CTE event with partnering with local businesses. I'm planning to attend. I'm looking forward to my first graduations as a board member, and I'm excited for both my kids are going to prom this weekend. So I'm really
Fantastic.
looking forward to our, seniors celebrating.
It is. This is one of the best times of the year because we get to see the fruits of all the labors of everyone who's worked so hard to, prepare them for their future. And I think not that want to take away from other classes, but this class is especially accomplished with all of this, the number of students who are going to UCs and Cal States is just tremendous, and it's really good to see. With that, we're adjourned. Thank you.